Okay, there we go. Details. It's the cold medicine. I'll just blame it on that. But this year's event is, and some have been around longer than others. I think it's going to be more like convention used to be, because it is going to be a qualifying event, but it's going to be much more intimate in terms of the number of people qualifying who will actually be there is going to be a much smaller number. So we're going to not be in that mass arena style feeling like you just are blending into the crowd. But actually, I think it's going to be in the Congress Center. It's going to be smaller. We've got James Clear. They said they have like 10 hours of training. And Meg and I were even on a call where they were talking about there's even qualifications now for who's going to speak at convention. Like, I think your business has to be growing at a certain level. So the people who will be speaking will be the ones that are actually doing things that are working in their businesses. And then, even small perks like on Friday and Saturday, there'll be coffee breaks in the morning and the afternoon with coffee provided. And if you've never had that, it's a cozier feel and, networking, getting to know people. So, and I'm probably preaching to the choir because that's why you're here.
That's okay. The choir likes to be preached to too.
But tell us something good, like something that, because most everybody was on last week, or even if you weren't, but what's something good that has happened this past week, either in mindset, motivation, action, results?
Well, I'm happy to go, but I don't want it to be an overwhelm for people because it's honestly a little bit of an overwhelm for me. But the first thing is, and I think I shared this last week, I sent the email out to all of my inactive clients, and 3 of them contacted me, which obviously gave me month number 2. Well, not obviously, but I have month number 2 under my belt for qualification. So if you haven't done that, I would say make that happen. But the other thing I did, and you guys have heard me talk about it, was starting a women's networking group in my town. And for reasons that don't matter, the 2 gals I was working with are unable to participate for a little bit. They've got some personal stuff going on. So I'm jumping out on my own. I'm not getting into the heavy duty stuff. I'm modeling myself after Gina Manley because she's like the woman. And so I just put it on our little Fort Mill Facebook page that I'm thinking of starting. Who would be interested, just to get an idea? And y'all, I've had over 75 people say, I'm interested, I'm interested, I'm interested. So that was way more than I thought was going to happen. And there may be more coming. I don't know. But anyway, so now I'm like, but going on friending the people. And I will start a private Facebook page, and then I'll send a message to each of them, a private message saying, all further communication will be on this Facebook page. But anyway, so there's a lot of work. Yeah, I agree. Not a bad problem, just a little overwhelming right now. But so anyway, a lot of work behind it, but hopefully I make some good fun connections and move from there. So yeah. So do it. That's what I say. Just do it.
Love that. Love that. And did you just send your own email, or did you use the template to inactives?
I took what you sent and made it sound like me, if that makes sense. So, kind of followed the basic guidelines. I did not sometimes I put an additional sentence in there that's personal to the person I'm sending it to. I did not do that. I just said, hey, whoever, are you ready to feel like yourself again, or something like that? And people came back with, oh my gosh, your timing is perfect.
Love that. Well, congratulations. That's some
Thank
good
you.
action. And I'm just kind of digging your sweatshirt that says a lot can happen in 3 days, but think about it. You know what I mean? You put it out there, you set an intention to want to be there. I think the energy around that, you can't even describe it, but you've set an intention that you wanted to be there. And now you're doing action, and the pieces are falling into place with it.
Dee, can I share something about the networking?
Yeah, please.
So I don't know if y'all do any kind of networking at all. I was at a meeting this morning that I go to every Thursday morning. And someone that I've become close with in there said, have you gotten any business from this? And I said, well, not yet. I said, but I want to be here. Like, it's good for me to whittle down what I want to say, it brings energy to me to be in front of people, to connect with people, to set up those one-to-ones, to do a deeper dive into their business, which then gives you the door to do a deeper dive into yours. It may be them that needs help. It may be someone that they know. Maybe they've got a physician that they're friends with that they're willing to introduce you to. I think my point is, even if it doesn't grow my business, it's growing me. And it's making me more comfortable being out and about talking about what we do. So the more you can, the better it feels.
That's awesome, Gina. And if you think about it, we're not out to get people, right? I heard this quote the other day. We're not out to get people, but what we're out to do is get people, which you want to get to know people, get them, understand them, and vice versa. So, and you know what? It's boots on the ground. It's getting out and doing what we're really about, which is building relationships and building connections. And then there's always that energy, right? Like, and it takes time with networking, especially with what we do, that people have to get to know you. They have to like trust you, etc. So that takes time. But at the same time, action usually begets action or results. So sometimes you can be out networking and then 3 people from your inactive list call you, right? You're like, how did that even happen? I'm working on this over here, and then something popped up over here, or something you were really planning on that you thought would come through doesn't. And then out of the woodwork, you wake up and there was an order placed by somebody, you know? So there's just something about all of that, which is good.
I wanted to share too, just to piggyback off of what Jana was saying about the just kind of being out and sharing the message. Because one of the things that I started doing at the beginning of the year, I had one in February. My goal is to have 1 to 2 a month, is to just have health and hope events in people's homes for either my coaches, my clients, or myself. And so I'm excited. I'm actually driving up to Raleigh tomorrow to do a health and hope with one of my clients who refuses to become a coach, but she's referred so many people, and she has 13 people as of yesterday that's coming. And they're not like our circle is our church. I have a sister church up there, and it's a mix of people that she's just built relationships with, people from church, her neighbors. And so I'm excited about that because I love being around people. And I'm just treating, I used to be a Pampered Chef consultant. I'm literally treating this and doing what I did there with that business, where I go and I present. I'm having everyone who wants to know more on an intimate level complete a health assessment while they're there. And then I'll ask them if they want to host a health and hope event at their home for their friends. So that puts me in different circles of people to continue spreading the message. And whatever comes from it will come, whether it comes immediately or somewhere down the road. At least I'm planting a seed, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Man, that's awesome, Lucy. Keep us updated on how that goes. I love that you had this idea and you're taking action. And you got a great referral partner, it sounds like, which is wonderful. I'm curious, last week we talked about making our note cards and like setting an intention or a goal, something that we will do by the end of the month, by the end of Convention Champions. I'm curious if anyone did not do that and might be willing to share kind of the thing that got in their way. Vicki?
Yeah, I did not do it. And honestly, full reason I'm with you, Lucy. I kind of forgot, but also I have 2 Bible studies going on, husband that we keep going to the doctor to find out what's wrong with him. There's a lot going on here right now. And so that just kind of went honestly down to the bottom of the list. I knew I was going to be taking action this week on these things, so I was kind of like, you know what, that's one more thing that I don't feel I need to do. I've got other stuff happening. So that was, I mean, it's an excuse, but that was my thinking on it.
Linda? Linda? You want to?
You're muted.
I know. I have a really unstable signal here. So as a matter of fact, I'm gonna have to listen to the replay at the beginning of this because Vicky, I missed what you were saying. And I'm really interested in your story. So I'll go back and listen later. But I wasn't in on this last week. You know, and a lot of it has to do with all the sketchy internet that I have here. So I'll go back and listen to that too. But I just wanted to share, when you were talking about being in action, I jumped in on one of those power hours yesterday, and it was great. And I hadn't done that in a really long time. And they were really talking more about coaching and, you know, talking to people. And one of the things that they talked about was, you know, opening up your mind that even though we all know that the 5-in-1 is the best one to do, if that's not working for people, if you have these people that are doing 5-in-1-ish for a year, open up that conversation about doing a different plan. And I have to tell you, so many of the people that I've reached out to that did well for him, but kind of lost them and gained some of their weight back. And when I reach out to them, a lot of the responses, I just can't eat those products anymore. So I'm kind of back to like meet people where they are. So I even started one conversation this morning over texting because I don't know about you guys, but nobody answers the phone anymore. But anyway, she about, well, let's see what you can do. Let's talk about a program or a plan where we can add more whole food and have something that works for you. This particular client is someone who's got a lot of business lunches and dinners and things like that. So for her to stick with the 5-in-1, it's very challenging. So I'm gonna try and go with that idea and reach back to some of these people that have said, yeah, I'm just tired of the food. I just can't do it. So are you guys finding the same thing with that response of people with, I can't do the food anymore? I love the food. I traveled here with desserts. Come on. Anyway.
I like to ask them, Linda, was it all the food or were there particular ones you didn't like? Because we could create because there's been several that have said that to me, but I've also remembered when they've told me there were specific ones that they do like. And then that's when I honestly will offer like the bundle that Kristen Glass has been promoting on her page that's less expensive, and then pairing that with Whole Foods, you know, using the healthy snack exchange that's in the book on those pages as, you know, additional fuelings, but they're whole foods. So letting them know that it's going to be a slower pace, but we can still do this because, I mean, Dr. A really did write the program for people who really could do this with whole foods. It just won't be as fast as the fuelings, of course.
So I mean, and that's really good because it's a reminder that the food piece of it is just 25% of the program. Mm-hmm. So if we can kind of get them back in that mindset of, you know, what can you do and how can we put together a nutrition plan that's going to work for you? But thank you for that reminder because that's good. Do you just use like a 1,200 calorie menu as sort of a template?
Yeah, somewhere around, you know, 1,000 to 1,200 to still try and keep it within like what they were doing. I mean, the calorie count from the 5-in-1. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And the thing to keep in mind too, Linda, is their total energy expenditure too, their TEE. Like for me, if I have to be really careful with the number of calories I have or I gain weight because I'm so short. So I would recommend taking a peek at that too. And sometimes I found it's more of a question, like, I'll get on the phone with a client and we're doing a health assessment and I'm like, well, what have you tried? And she's like, da 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 da, and try that Optavia thing. And I'm like, oh, well, tell me more about that. Or, somebody who gets on a health assessment and they're like, okay, if this is a thing where I have to buy the food, I'm not doing that. But then we talk about it and we find out like, okay, there's resistance, which is understandable, but we can work through that to get them what they want.
Great.
So
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's funny, I'm at 1350 with calories with TEE. And it's not because I'm that tiny. I think it's more because I'm old. I wasn't 1350 when I started this program. Thank you.
it's a good reminder that it can change over time for sure.
Yeah, I think it always comes down to what can you do, right, with an individual. Well, what can you do? And also circling back to the why, right? Because when people get so committed to the how, like I can't do it if I have to eat that food, it's usually because they're not that clear or committed to the why. But if they do want to make healthier choices, etc., then yeah, what can you do? And let's find a plan that will work for you. And I love what they also said. I was on that same call, Linda, good, better, best, right? Like, you know what? The best thing is going to be the 5-in-1. Like if you're serious about this, just getting it in, getting it done would be your best bet. But if that is not feasible and you are okay with a slower outcome, because just know if we vary the variables, we're going to vary the results, then let's try one of these other things. And you could always go back to the 5-in-1 if you want it. So I think that was I thought it was a really great call as well.
What do you say we go back to the note card and the intention? Because it's not just like another thing for any of us to have to do, but it's more of setting our intention for what we are working towards, right? So like, what is it that we are working towards every single day, every single week that's creating all of this action? So I think it would be really good if we just paused for a minute and together wrote out that note card. And if you're wondering if you weren't with us last week, it was, I will blank by a blank date. You decide what the date is. So it could be, I will earn the client support plus bonus by the end of March. I will qualify for convention by the end of May. I will get back to ED by this certain month. But something that that will drive you and get you working towards this thing that you want. Dee, I don't know if there's any color to add to what I'm sharing.
Yeah, no, I actually just pulled out my note card, and Meg learned the note card trick from me, which I probably learned from Susan Palace. And I think back to it, I've stopped doing it and my business is more stagnant. Just not gonna lie, actually has gone back. But when I used to write it out, it's also because there's intention, but then when you write it down and you put it in a visible place, like for me, I would always put it on my laptop right here. Your brain is seeing it. It's kind of like when you're driving somewhere, you're not really thinking about, how you put the seatbelt on and all of that, but your brain is seeing it as done. So when you write it out, what it is that there's a subconscious seeing is that your brain is going to see it as done. So I'm gonna do mine as well. So piece of paper, note card, whatever you want.
And if you'll look up here when you're done. Don't want to rush anyone. All right. Who wants to share?
All right, I will.
I'll go next.
Go big or go home, right? So I wrote down 4. I commit to earning the 5% by the end of March. We've not had the 5% in a very long, I'm at the 3% in a long time, but I'm committing to the 5. I'm going to commit to the 5 and 1 in April. And because we are doing extensive travel in May, I'm going to move to the 4 and 2 to make European travel a little bit more doable. And I commit to 3 new or reactive clients every month going forward.
It's beautiful.
I wrote, I will qualify for convention by May 31st by hitting a minimum of 3% the client support bonus each month and regaining executive director one of those months.
Woo. You already hit it for this month, girl. You got that 3% going. It's awesome. Who else?
Linda?
What?
Oh, Laura,
Oh.
you go, and then Linda's unmuting.
Mine is a little more like short term. So mine is just getting the client support bonus for March. So starting with that and then building from there.
That's awesome.
Awesome. You know, and it's that's one thing I've learned about. I love that, Laura, that you saw that. That you know, it stating what your brain can see as achievable is so important, because you can put this thing out like, I really should that. But if you're in that kind of mindset and your brain doesn't think it's possible, why? But when you put something that seems achievable and then you get it, you get your brain, you get a sense of dopamine. You get the high, like, oh my God, I did it. And so then you can set the net, you can go a little bit further. The
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Linda.
Okay, so mine is I will qualify for convention by the end of April. And I think it's pretty doable. You know, I'm a statistic girl too, and I got to look at the numbers, and I think that's very doable for me. So I'm going to say it out loud. And also that I'll be ED again by convention. I think that's a good goal to reach that that level by convention. And then my last one was I'm going to work on readjusting my wording with those clients who are tired of the food, thanks to Lucy's ideas and your encouragement too, and see if I can readjust what I'm saying to those folks that's their real only hesitation.
Love that. Love that. It just popped in my head the other day. They actually said on that call yesterday, like, are you just, no judgment, but just stand back and ask yourself, am I a 5 and 1 coach? Have I just been coaching? You know, because that means you're actually a diet coach, which Dr. A always reminds us, it's not about weight loss, it's about creating health. So if you can help somebody create those healthier habits in whatever way it looks like for them, it's a win. It's what you're doing as an Optavia coach. Anybody else want to share? Well, I think the one thing I would say in terms of action as we're moving forward this week is right now, Commit to Health is probably our most valuable tool that we have, right? For acquiring new clients and for reactivating your inactive. So what I guess the challenge would be this week is to actually ask yourself, what have I done so far in the arena of new clients? You know, have I, been promoting this on social media? If not, that's what you could do next. I think it'll tell you what your next action is. Have I reached to my not yets personally and let them know? People have done health assessments and let them know. And then with your inactives, have I let them know that this is even an option? And to give you an idea, like I've already sent a second follow-up email. What I did is I sent one, and then I went back and looked at the activity of who had looked at it, personally reached out to those. But then I sent a second mass one and had 3 people come back already from the second one. And they put some new resources in the back office. There's actually a template for it. You can't change the wording, but you can change the image. There was like 3 choices. It's pretty decent. And I just sent that one as my second one. But how are you reaching your inactives? And so this will help you for March. And then it's also good for a time period in April. So if you want to get that bonus to qualify, that's the secret sauce. Anything else to add, Meg, before we open for time for you? All right, you guys. Well, we are rooting for you. That's for sure. Just stopping.